Welcome to the Executive Lounge. I'm Inshira Ado. This is the thought leadership program that brings you nuggets of insights from the lives and work of men and women who have scaled the daunting heights of either starting their own businesses or managing institutions and just pretty much doing cool stuff here at home and around the world. My guest is Auntie Serwaa Quaynor. And she founded the Autism Awareness Care and Training Center here in Accra some 20 years ago. We're going to learn a lot about how she came to start it, why she started it, and how she's been running it, and all the lessons that come with it. Stay tuned. This is definitely going to be a life-changing episode of the Executive Lounge. And Auntie Serwaa, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Looking younger every day.
Same here. Oh, thank you.
So it's your story is a story that's been told and told, but I found the need to really have a chat with you again. I mean, 20 years of doing the same thing is not an easy task.
No.
Yes. Well, let's start first of all. How did you come to start the Autism Center?
Okay. My son has autism. He's 36 years old, and I was living in the United States. And for 36 years old and having autism, at the time when he was diagnosed, there was not, even in the US, there was nothing. So it was a difficult journey. But he was one who considered high functioning until he became a teenager when the hormones set in and it was very difficult. So I found myself having to come home because I had promised myself, Ghana, dear, forget it, because we'll go into the stigma later. So I came with him. He was 16, yeah, he's 20 years. He was 16 years old with raging hormones, aggressive behavior, and you name it. Anything difficult, that's how I came to Ghana. Because I came thinking, I would find like-minded people like me. I would look for them. Because we'd visited Ghana, and anytime we'd visit, I was more convinced I would never return home again. But then we came this time, and because I was ill, I had had an accident, and my daughter, my other child, she's older, she was in college, and my husband was here in Ghana doing business, so I was alone. I was stuck with all these difficult behaviors and things. So like they say, I will arise and go to my father's house. So I came back, and then to a vacuum.
Wow.
Now what? Thankfully, I met a man. I took my son to another school, no names mentioned, but it wasn't what I was looking for. It wasn't the right fit. I wanted to maybe really work with it there, but it didn't work out. So then this man that had also returned from the UK and Russia, had done speech therapy and special needs person. It's funny how God works. And so I asked him to help me after his work to come to my house and help with speech and, just help out with my son. And so that's how this started. But then my sister, I had told my sister and whoever would listen that, look, this is autism. If you see anybody like this, like my son, just let me know. So at her church, she saw this girl and the mother, very distraught, difficulties. And then she approached her and said, oh, does your daughter have autism? She said, no. And she said, well, this is my sister's number. You just call her. She called me, and she went on and on crying, with both of us crying and talking about her issues. She had also returned from the States a few years ago to nothing. And then she was at my house the very next day. And when she came, she saw that I had this person helping with my son. And she says, whether you like it, she said, yes, my daughter has autism. Whether you like it or not, I'm bringing my daughter. I'm like, wait a minute, you're bringing your daughter saying? She says, I'm bringing her. And now what? And then she called another woman she knew who had returned from Canada. And so this is how this started. So within a month or two, I had about 3 people actually coming to my house. And then this went on, and I hadn't planned on doing this. So I said to the guy I was working with, what's going on here? I talked to my husband. He says, well, it looks like something is going on. Before we could say Jack, we had 6 people.
Wow.
At the house. A very small room. Maybe if you do and so I had to do like 2-hour sessions and then do play activities with them, and some of them were older. My son then was 16, the girl was like almost 18, 20, 18, something like that, and the other boy was also about a teenager. And then we had a boy who was 4.
Wow.
And then a few of them, they were younger. So my husband said, it looks like this is something. What are you going to do? Let's find a place for you to rent. Didn't know what I was going to do. Had no clue about what happened in Ghana. I just came, and then I started reading about charities in Ghana and said, looks like we have to go register an NGO. And had no clue what I was doing.
Wow.
And so with the help of a few people, and said, this is what you do. You go to the Registrar General and you do blah, 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 register and things, because you can't just take people in. And so we were at the house for about a year. And then the present where we are now came up for rent. Actually, my friend's mother had passed. She wasn't living there. But the people who were in the house hadn't been paying rent for umpteen years. And she was getting rid of them. And people were offering them good money for that place. And I just went and grabbed her by the leg and I said, please, please, I'm almost on my knees here. I need this place. So I'm trusting God to see what he will do. And so it belongs to 2 sisters. One sister said, oh, what's this? So she says, my portion is what I'm reducing. So we will give you your rent. So we've been there since then until now.
Wow.
So that's how basically we started. And as we started, I also started awareness for my church. Anybody who would listen, I would talk about autism. I'm not somebody who, my mates and those who know me, isn't somebody who's ready to stand in front of a crowd and talk. If you say, come and say something, I'm the one who's behind, and I really don't want to be the leader. And, or, I'm not bold like that. I wasn't. But then slowly we started the awareness with the churches and the people who started coming, and then people just kept calling, and they were coming. And then some people, of course, think that, oh, you just put like a plaster over it or Band-Aid, and then you cure autism. But there's no cure for autism. But so we started my church, so people would tell me, oh, call Auntie Serwaa, a few people in some Sunday schools or something, when they see a child having some difficulties, then they would call me. So this is how this all started. And so we realized that we needed to do awareness, and more awareness. So the name, Autism Awareness Care and Training Center, I'm somebody who is into acronyms and blah, blah, blah. So when they were sleeping and I was like restless, my husband's like, what's wrong with you? You complain about me always waking up and writing something down because he's a scientist and I think he's a little whatever in the cloud somewhere. He says, look at you. I said, I've got it. I've got the name. I've got the name. He's like, what's wrong with you? I said, let me write it down. So I turned on the light and I'm writing A for autism, A, awareness, care, and training. Exactly what the Lord gave to me to do in Ghana. Raise awareness of autism, give care and training to persons with autism.
Interesting. You talked about visits to Ghana at the time that didn't inspire the confidence for you to think about returning. How did you traverse that course and find yourself 20 years on, you're here, you're home and thriving?
Like I said, I just had to come.
So life put you in a place where you had to?
It's like I had proposed and then God
disposed.
So then I came and it hasn't been easy. Hasn't been at all easy. For instance, I don't get paid because the amount of money people pay cannot even cover the cost of running the place. But I am a woman of deep faith. I go to the Lord, and He has ordered every step that we've taken. Because I don't know how to really answer this question to you. I don't know how. It has been the Lord's doing. And I must say, in the beginning, my husband helped with our rent. And he's always been helping. It's like, don't you have any benefactors, other people, but me? And then slowly, because I didn't really know people, most of my friends and my contacts are all abroad. Because I was gone from Ghana for about 30 years. And so you come back and you're like JJC to your own country.
That's right.
But slowly, some people, friends, and I'm in your face now. It's like, oh, why don't you help the kids? We have these kids and some people, and then people started coming who couldn't pay anything. What we charge really doesn't cover our rent. We have somebody who paid our rent for the year. And as I'm talking, whoever is listening, just start adding yourself, like I pay this year, I pay tomorrow, and I pay. And so it's been like going to people and friends, and slowly some corporate bodies also started hearing about the awareness, and thanks to media. Because thankfully, people like you, and I've met you before, and we had a great conversation, and coming back here. So the media, different media, have really been there, because when it's April, it's the Autism Awareness Month.
That's right.
And thankfully, we've been out there doing walks and just talking about autism. And because we've been talking, the media got to hear. So in April, everybody wants to bombard Serwaa and other people now, thankfully, the other centers doing autism. And I tell them, awareness is not just April. But the United Nations chose April 2nd for autism to be recognized in the world, because they realized the way autism was increasing in the numbers. When you hear the statistics over there, it's alarming. When my son was diagnosed, it was 1 in 10,000. As we speak today, it's 1 in 68. I hear it's even worse. So.
And this is something that the world still doesn't know how it comes about, nor how to cure it, except that there are ways to manage.
Exactly.
In our society, when a child is born with any visible defect, or for the lack of a better expression, or shows signs that we tend not to understand, all kinds of interesting things are attributed to that. The mother is treated differently, the child is treated differently. You mentioned stigma. The world has found a nice word for it, but it's darker than it sounds. It's
darker than that, yes.
What did you have to put up with?
Friends not being who they are. I must say, then you get to know who your real friends are. Even family, who don't come and say, so you're having these difficulties, and they just look at you, and they rather demand that why didn't you come to this yala or a ye or whatever and things. And I'm like, really? Oh, have you come to tell me how do I manage, or when I don't have sleepless nights, and when I, haven't, the difficult times. So don't even go there. Somebody once saw me at one of the funerals, say, so I need to do better. And I'm like, I need to do better? Okay, I will bring you my son. You take care of him. And then I will do all the unnecessary things that you think is so important to you. And I said, whoever sent you, I'm sending you back to them. If they want to face me, they should come. And then I'll let them know what my life is. If I'm here, just let me be here, have my little, greet the people, do the respect that I came to give, and just leave me alone. So it's been difficult. But because I've developed a thick skin, you have to, as a mother or a father with a child with autism, you can't expect anyone else to do this for you, because your child needs you. And so the stigma, like you say, I like the way you put it, it's darker than the word dark. Because when you have your own family members right here in Ghana, people telling you that, oh, go and leave your son, or your son is coming from somewhere, and take him to the river. And people have told you that your child will turn into a snake and go back wherever he came from. Or when people are giving your son or your daughter concoctions to drink, so they will do away with them. Yes, this is happening in Ghana. So stigma is darker than dark. This is how difficult it is for people in Ghana. Thankfully, I've been somebody who will not be quiet. And I keep telling people, you can't be quiet. You say, this is my son of whom I am proud of. This is my daughter of whom I am proud of. So you lead the way. You show people that you are accepting. You have to be totally accepting of your child. Like when you have a baby and you're so excited, and it's like you say, oh, it's Kofi or Amma, and then you have as a dad, you know, and it's beautiful. So if there's something wrong, if this child has malaria, you're doing all you can to get this child cured.
That's right.
So how come when the child has a disability, you want to throw the child away? Shame on all of them.
You've clearly had to put up with a lot, and you're still going strong.
Yeah.
Beyond your faith, how have you remained whole?
Just being me. Remaining whole is, I love to dance. So people see, we go to parties and people say, oh, even with all your difficulties, this is you. I'll party any day. My friends I just love music and all genre of music. And I have a family. My husband, I'm not saying he's being hunky-dory or everything has been perfect, but the way he accepts his son, what he will do for his son, he's there. He is, you know, in the beginning it was difficult. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it's all been, you know, beautiful, and it's hard. Just imagine as a man and you're told your son cannot do this, and you have a son. And for most people in Ghana, you have the child and they say, oh, or bananas, or what, and that kind of thing.
There's a certain premium that society places on a son. Yeah.
Exactly. And you have this, your son, and, oh, he has autism. And then at that time, they tell you, oh, don't expect much on him. This was in America.
Wow.
But then you come here to, even in those days, you go to the library to read, and you're reading that they're calling you a cold mother, that you may not have breastfed your son. And that's not true. I breastfed for 15 months. So go figure. And they say all kinds of things. So it is difficult. People call you names. They even refer you as, oh, you're the one who did this. Or they tell fathers that it is Sikadru. If you have one car and you have a house, it means, yeah. So it means, I had a father who came because I built a house, because I have this, and he is sobbing. And so for me, it's been hard. There are times I go to bed and I still cry. And maybe when my son, those days when it was difficult, and I had to hire 2 people, morning and night, to do the shift, so we can at least have some sleep. The days my husband travels a lot, and the times that, okay, so I just go into prayer, and I'm praying and playing music until I fall asleep. And this is what I say, to God be the glory, because this is what I mean. But and then I have some very few friends who are there. They say, oh, Serwaa, you're not sitting here. Come on, let's go sit at La Palm when, you know, go just watch the ocean. I love the beach. And those are the things. I don't mind going by myself. I just go and then take in the ionization of the sea, and then just you come, you're refreshed. So those are the things I do. And then I also try to go by, my daughter is in the States. I try to go for about 2 months of the year just to get away from it all. And then that's how, and I do, these days I'm not able to do much church because there are other activities, and my dad is 96. And I'm the firstborn, so I have that.
Yeah, a lot of duties to take care of.
But you know, it all works out. It all works out.
Does.
But you know, I always talk, instead of talking about myself per se, then I talk about us. I mean, there are the families, because there are families really suffering. In the north, in the upper region, and I say upper region because I'm old school.
That's right. So
yes, and the
upper east and
upper east, upper west. The situation is really dark. It's horrible. It's horrible. So what we've done is try to do training, and we've done 8. I was going to say states. We've done 8 regions so far. So we're looking for money to be able to go and train teachers to kind of do trainer of trainees kind of thing, you know. And it's been, but we're there, and I try to be, because nobody will make you happy. You have to happy yourself.
That's right.
Yes, I have a son with autism. There are days that he's really down. This year on his birthday, I just don't know. I just cried almost the whole day. But it's like, Lord, is this me? And it was a hard day. Not because I'm sad. It's like I play my music, but I'm like, I look at my life and I'm like, look at where you have brought me. And my daughter had come from San Diego, and she's like, what? You're sitting in the dark? Come on, we're going out. And so her husband was here then, and my granddaughter. And they left her and they said, we're going out. And she said, now, you are warned. If you sit in this room by yourself like this, Dad had traveled, I'm not going to have it. And so, you know, they're the down moments. It's not all like
but you always have an angel around to minister.
Amen.
That's right.
Yes.
We're going to take a short break, and then we'll come back and learn more about the center, how it's evolved, what the future would look like, and what we can all do to change the narrative. This is the Executive Lounge. Stay tuned. Don't go away. Welcome back to the Executive Lounge with me, Serwaa, and my guest, founder of the Autism Awareness, Care and Training Center here in Accra, Serwaa, Quaynor. For 20 years, you've been running the center, and I'm sure there's tons of lessons we can draw from that. So it's an NGO, but of course, NGOs are run just like businesses. So there's a structure, there's processes for everything. Let's start with people. You naturally would have a nurturing heart and a disposition to the children because of your peculiar experience.
Yes.
But the person who comes into work who has not had to and has a choice of whether to be compassionate or nurturing, how do you get them to deliver?
That's a very good question. So in the beginning, it was like, oh, wherever I could find help. But then soon we realized that you have to be exposed to them first, meaning come and see. Come and hang around. Just be there, you know, see us, go into the classrooms and, you know, sit with the child, color with the child, and, you know, nothing much is expected of you. We ask to bring love. And if you come, and we can tell. And if you say, oh, you can't stay here, we understand. Because not everybody can take care of these children. We've had people come, some volunteers come from Germany. One girl ran away. Wow. And because one child was screeching his head off. And she got scared. And she left and she went back home. So now for the Ghanaians, our people, we come and we usually take secondary school leavers or high school. And sometimes we have, because we really can't pay too much. And those who are doing like NOVDEC again, or some people who have deferred going to university because they don't have the money. And so they come, and then we look at your countenance with children, and then we are looking at you, and you're also looking at us, looking at the children and see, is this a place you can work? So we would give you 1 month, pay your transportation in and out, and so that, and also money that you can have lunch. And then so you decide. And then we are also watching you. And just recently we decided it's going to be 2 months because we need to see more. I've let 2 people go who maybe I should have been more patient with. You know, one person came back, he says, "Mommy, give me a chance." And she's been one of the best. That, you know, so sometimes I'm probably not seeing enough. But sometimes you can tell, those who are impatient, you can tell they just want their little...
let's get by money
and go. You can tell. And some of them is like, oh, and it's always about, oh, is this all you're going to pay? Recently, a guy walked in here, somebody sent him to me, and he came and I was so sad for him because he just looked at the money. So I called him myself and I said, you know something, think about what I'm going to tell you. You will not go far with your attitude because you have you've left poly, as they say, and you haven't even gone that far with your education yet. But your shoulder is all up there and you think you're all that. And you didn't have any money. The person who sent you to me gave you 20 CDs. And when you came, I gave you another 20 to take transportation and to find something. Because your story you gave, if it is true, means that you need something really quick. Yes, we don't pay much, but you don't know who will lead you to. And he's like, so he came to apologize. But I said, I can't work with you. And so we get them and we give them a chance and we look at them, and that's how we've got the people who are working there. And we just took a break and then we sit down and we evaluate them. You evaluate yourself. You should see the number of people. It's from 0 to 5. You should see the people who give themselves 5. And then the people that I have to give 1 to, some of them. And so we have different categories of, you know, coming to work, that counts for something, and different things. So it's really involved. And then we sit down with them and see, how can you do better? It's like regular evaluation at work. And what do you see? And then we also give them a grade. And then we see, do you see the disparity? And then some people we say, oh, this one deserves more than what she has said. And that's funny. One of our best workers, she always grades herself lower. So that also we're trying to counsel her and say, come on, you need to do better. Don't look at yourself like, maybe she's been brought up like that. She's very humble. So this is what we do. And then we do training. Very, very important. As we have vacated now, they will go back 2 days before, 3 days, and get training, free training. And some of them, and then we're not going to be paid for it. I'm like, when you go to school, do you pay for it? I don't believe in anything free, by the way. Free means it's not the best. Sorry, I didn't mean, but anything free, you have to think about it. You know, what are you really getting? We're going to give you lunch. We're going to, money that I don't have, I have to go and find it. So you can go over what you have learned over the years, those who have been there longer. And then another thing that we also do is we choose the best carer of the year, the best person with, you know, like when we go out, the best person, you know, give them incentives. So this is what we do. It's really involved. And the training we don't just do for ourselves. We train other teachers in regular schools and we open it up to other people. And thankfully there are centers now dotted over Accra, and then some now starting in Sunyani, some that I have encouraged. Like you call me, or I have a son in, and I live in Sunyani, how do I come here? And I ask you, what do you do? You're a teacher? Oh, we can do this. I've encouraged a few people to do this, and I think about 3 people, they've started centers. But now there's a place in Tama, there's a place, and then people came from abroad, and they've also started. I think they also have children with autism. And so it's great to know that other people are now coming in. But we need a lot more. We need to do a lot more and train more people. It's very difficult. And the retention rate is like a revolving door. It's really bad. Because the minute somebody can pay them 1 CD extra, they're out the door.
So you first immerse the people, identify, well, essentially you profile them to be sure that they're a right fit for the environment.
Exactly.
You give them training, and then you evaluate as you go along.
Exactly.
But of course, you're running at a point where you're not able to, you're not making money. Your funding is not optimal, so people aren't paid a lot of money.
Yes.
Don't the disposition you measure include people who would be also a little sacrificial and manage what they get instead of shop for the best deal?
Well, I think they are. I have a lot of respect for some of them who have stayed long, and then they're always trying to get more training. And I'm smiling because I have a few people who've ended up going to university, studying special needs or studying speech therapy, or stay in the field. So it's something there, and thankfully those who donate to us, and we always say, have a way that is mostly for the children, but without the caregivers, how would the children survive? As we were leaving just recently, somebody brought some rice, and we don't cook for the children there, but then that's for the caregivers. And so this is how we retain, because there are no jobs. The last I checked, it's very difficult for people to find jobs. We've even had people with university degrees come and do this work until they will tell you. And then I tell them, just let me know. Don't just leave like that. One particular guy who went to local government, and he keeps coming back. He misses the children. He says, Mom, I think I'm going to try and go and do disability studies for my master's. This really warms my heart to see that they go and they think about the children. They think of what they've learned, and But then, now we've become a social enterprise. And then I won Best Social Enterprise of the Year. This was last year, yeah. And so, and these are how we raise funds. Some of it. These are
so you make
beads.
these
We
beads?
make these beads.
Wow.
And we make other beads, and today I didn't wear some of that. I don't like big beads.
So essentially these are made and sold that it can fund the center.
Yes, and we have paintings, and it's a shame, we should have top 10. We have paintings that, we raise funds, and then for the activities of the center. And an organization, I can mention their name now. We've been working with them a lot for our art therapy program. And they funded us quite a bit last year, and this year too, they've written to us. And I think the funding is every 2 years. And we're hoping that it'll come through again, because our paintings is really that really help us. And then we do other things like painting. What do we do? Why am I stuck? Yeah, the beading, and then some sculpture, and then and then people see our work. And with this that I'm wearing, when I go to the States, my friends try to run away from me, and I tell them, you can't. I'm in your face with it. Come on, suggest a donation of $20, and I take one off. And then so I can gather some money and come back. It's been really piecemeal, but slowly we're getting there. But some people will come. Somebody came from Denmark and said, I need a whole bag of this. And she sent $1,000. Because she was, just beads. These are 10 CDs here. And, but the children do this. It isn't, you come to the center and we have taught them, and this is something that's part of the curriculum. And the painting is part of the curriculum. It's a way to get, it's good for them. And it's, for this, a child with fine motor issues, when they have the fine thread and they're beading, it's all
part of managing their condition and helping them.
And so thankfully we're now looking at the people with deep pockets. One or two have taken like a scholarship here for a child, a scholarship there for another child. This is what helps. So anyone who's listening, please take off our children. It's 800 CDs a month. It sounds like it's a lot. It isn't at all. They should be paying about 3 times that or more. But if you do that, the average Ghanaian, they can't afford it. So this is, and I'm always chasing people to look for anybody watching this. You can take a child. Come on, take a child. And some people, yes, because children, our philosophy, that was mine when I started, that any child who walks in through our door and needs training has to find a way. Once they can get here, so it behooves us to find a way to train this child. This is the reason why we really, because if everybody really paid what they were supposed to pay, we will manage. But really, we have to think of profitability. But for what we do, then people will know, they will run away. So I'm looking at corporate bodies and anyone who's hearing, and thankfully this year we won MTN Heroes of Change for the education. And people look at this, the money, it's something. Yeah, but now I'm under their radar, so I will leave them alone. So the foundation, we're coming, we need you. And we need other foundations. So thankfully, we've been doing great work, and our work is being recognized.
Yeah.
I've won an award in the US, and the different awards, and the Millennium Excellence Award, the different things. So for these things coming, it should count for something, Shara. Don't you think so?
I totally agree with you.
Yes.
And you know, I wanted to, let's do a quick parallel. When your son was diagnosed, it was new.
Exactly.
And so there weren't any support systems.
Even in the US.
That's right. 20 years down the line.
He's 36.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay, so 36 years ago. So 36 years down the line, there's been advancement.
Exactly.
Where are the gaps in terms of what society ought to do, what the state ought to do to help? Because we look at them as children with disability, but they really are just special people.
They are special people. This disability is not inability. So if you want to look at them as disabled, there's so much they can do. You'll be amazed at what they can do.
I know people who can't beat
No.
to save their lives.
My son goes to work. He's in the world of employment. Yay! And he has 2 jobs. He works at Inclusion Ghana, which is a place for persons with intellectual disabilities. He does data entry. Nobody taught him. This is the thing with autism. Because you see him in all the electronic gadgets at home, he was never taught. He figured it out. He just watches you and whatever, he's doing it. But what we should do is, we should realize that once somebody has a disability, there's always an ability within that child. If you teach them, even sometimes you don't have to teach them. There's probably, with autism, they're probably smarter than us. Because there are many famous people who had autism over the years. Picasso is one of them, Michelangelo, Einstein, and different things. Who did the lights?
Light is
Edison.
Edison, Thomas Edison, yes.
And
do you know, I thought about Faraday, but Faraday is electricity.
Yes.
It's light,
So,
Edison.
There's so many people in the world. Even Bill Gates is on the spectrum. It's a spectrum disorder. And the spectrum is so wide. So in Ghana, this is where I'm coming to. Why are we shunning persons with disability? I'm not even just focusing on autism now. Why?
Is it a lack of understanding? Do you look back at some of the people who stigmatized you and you pity them now as opposed to hate them because maybe they didn't understand what they were dealing with?
I never really hated them. I laughed at their ignorance. But in my pain, at that time, you know, I didn't have time to hate anyone. I was just focusing on me, in my situation. How do I make it better? But now the ignorance, you know, we've been here 20 years. So if you're in Accra and you come and tell me you're still sitting there and you think, oh, you're all that and you know everything, that's you. But then shame on you. Because we've been talking about autism every place we can find ourselves. And people have heard in the whole, those children. What do you mean by those children? But then I tell parents that if you don't accept your child, don't accept society to accept them. So we say awareness and awareness, it has to lead to acceptance. And so when you talk about the society, we've got to get them to accept us. We have to be accepted. We have to be part of the national pie that is being shared. You cannot just put, you have a budget and then what you put for disability is like, yeah. What kind of thing is that? You know, this really gets me going, but why? You know, you go, I was one time on the Disability Council. I was on the board. And they were always like, oh, Serwaa. I said, no, I don't understand. Why is there no money? Because they're busy doing other things, which is not important for the society. Why don't you include us? So if you say, oh, you're giving us, or then there's the disability bill that is passed, or we go around and then we are the first people to sign on to conventions at the UN. We ratify things. What is really on the ground? We don't follow through. It's like, oh, Ghana is the first to ratify the Convention for Persons with Disabilities and what? That's hogwash. I'm sorry. Put our money where our mouths are. We have to do what we say we're going to do. If you say you're going to do something, let your word be your bond. You cannot just go and do things and look good on paper. But you know, policies in Ghana, we won't even go there. But for persons with a disability, already they're suffering. Imagine somebody who can barely walk, and then you go to a building and it's not accessible. Today I was coming here and then I was complaining there's no lift, you know, because I'm not a young thing.
Even though you look it.
Thank you. But, you know, we have to really think, our policymakers and things have to really put thought into what they say. If you can't do it, don't give us false hope. This is what I say, because if you say something, people get all excited. Oh, we're going to get this, we're going to do that. And for me, from day one, that I have seen different governments come through, I say all of them haven't tried. So maybe this time we have 2 years, so maybe we'll get something small. But really, we shouldn't just wait. I tell persons, you have to do something for yourself. In Ghana and for everybody else. If you say you're looking for a job and you won't try, like you said somebody did millinery, you know, and they open the place up at the bread. Yay! You clap for that. But how come people are just sitting at home, you have a first degree, and you're sitting at home chopping your mother's banku? You won't do something. I have a boy who lives to me. He got somebody to iron his shirt for him. I was livid. Why can't you iron your own shirt? And you're not even 25 or something, and you're just sending people and doing things, sitting there and you can't even do. I said, no, you're not teaching them the right thing. You do yourself, and then they will do, and we should do for ourselves. Until such time, you know, you see all the people with disabilities on the streets. Yes, some people have got some of them to make money, but really, I think most of them are trying to find something. And for persons with autism, I know parents are trying. It's very expensive, to have a child with autism. Because it's not to pay the fees and they don't even sleep. You have to find somebody else to come and help at home and the food they eat. Because you have to, if you're not careful, you have to give them the proper diet. Sugar is not good for any of us. But for them, it makes them more hyperactive. And you have to sometimes, all the preservatives that are in the foods. So we teach these parents that when we do training, please come. We do parent training as well. They need to come. Some of them think, oh, they can just dump. Oh, no, not at our center. You can't dump your child. Or you bring your child in at 7 in the morning and you're not coming for them till when? Because you're busy working? What does that tell the child? And then they're growing. They shouldn't think that because a child has autism, they don't really know what's going on. And they feel these things, and sometimes it makes them even worse because we do our bit, but then everybody's gone and I'm the only one left. That's sad. And I think I mentioned to you before in our conversation that, and then these children, we were all beaten. I was caned as a child, and whatever from teachers, and when you go home, your mother will also cane you. Mm-hmm. But caning is really, when you cane a child or you punish a child, what are you telling them? That it is just good and you should let the child...
You need to use force to correct.
You need to explain to a child when you discipline them why. And they have to understand what they did wrong. But before you know, pump, and some children are really abused. But with children with autism, because some of them don't really talk, and you're just beating them or they do something, yes, they can be difficult. You're teaching them aggression. And when they get older and their hormones set in, they're going to wallop you. I'm sorry. And this is happening. And for me, I remember I did that once. I didn't do it again because I was frustrated and it was difficult. And I learned fast. He got me back. Mm. I said, I will never forget it. He broke my arm, twisted it. He just got me and just turned me around. I mean, at that time I was much smaller than this. And he's like 5'10". And he just and I was like, ooh, okay. And then my counselor told me, so I learned. And I tell people that you can't do this. So what I would like to see people in Ghana, the government, and for right now, somebody says, so what can government do? The last I checked, government is broke. But for us who are in the field or as parents, let's do our bit. Mm. And then when we say we're going to organize ourselves, because we need to put pressure on government. Like I said, we must. To
prioritize at least.
Exactly. Yeah. That, look, the people who go to Winneba who do special needs, that we are helping the government by opening these centers. So at least they should give us teachers who we don't have to pay. Because it has taken our taxes to train these teachers. Send us some of them. Instead of sending them to the places where they go to school for just till 11:30, you go to some places and then they've closed for the day. I have seen so many things, and these are people who are trained. And then you tell them that we want interns. They should come to us. Let's talk to GES. We've been talking to them, and sometimes they'll probably get upset. But we have to talk. Where can you put your extra teachers? We can train them for you. Bring them. Because autism...
So they can have the practical exposure.
Autism is increasing by leaps and bounds. If they don't wake up, it's going to be a national problem. It's a societal problem. Now they don't see. But I hate when I'm older to think that not much has happened. No. We will get there because we will not, like I said, be quiet. And we have to get to the right place and say we need the parents to join us, the practitioners, to go and say to somebody, go to the Minister for Gender and Education and Health and I think Youth and Sports. We fall under many of them. Let them know, what can you do for us? Mm.
I like your optimism. We're going to take our final break, and when we come back, we'll learn some more from Auntie Serwaa. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Executive Lounge. I'm Ishra Ado, and my guest is Serwaa Quaynor of the Autism Awareness, Care and Training Center here in Accra. She's been running it for 20 years, and lots of lessons learned in there. And so as we get ready to wrap up our conversation, I'd like to get to know a little bit more about you. Like you said, you have to grow a thick skin as a mom, but I have a feeling that there is a certain trait, there's a certain value system that made all of what you've achieved and gone through possible.
I had a mom who took no nonsense, and actually we were afraid of her growing up. And growing up here, I left Ghana quite early, around 18, to go to nursing school in England. I didn't want to stay, really because of Mom. And when I left, my dad said, won't you stay and go to school here? She said, I had found out how you can go abroad, because my dad was a civil servant, and he didn't have money to send me abroad. My cousins who parents had money, they were all gone. The people I was close to. So I started finding out how I could also leave Ghana. And the only way was through nursing school. And I think, I keep saying that God, what he has done for me. And
you thought you were running away, right?
Exactly.
But he was ordering your steps.
And then I went, and I did very well. It was so easy for me. And then I went to the States and continued. Therefore, became what you call a nurse practitioner, because when you go, you have to go to college and, do that. But then worked in the system. But growing up, I wasn't able to be me, because my mom was something else. But so loving, and because she wanted the best for us. My dad was a quiet sort, and but Mom just not knowing that it was Dad who was behind it all along.
He was orchestrating the whole thing.
Exactly. So I went to a mixed school. I went to Achimota school, and so hanging with guys and things has been no big deal. I can face them boot for boot, I'm sure if they see this, they said, did you say that? I said, yeah, bring it on. And then being abroad, facing all kinds of challenges, and the racism, and then whatever, you shouldn't let that face you. So I've faced some tough times before I even had children and before I got married. And so it's like you just have to do. You don't look at yourself, oh, poor me. And the poor me doesn't work for anyone. Like if I had this, just do it. That's how I was brought up. And we made do. Like I remember my mother saying we had a passion week in our house before my father got paid at the end of the month. It was, so this kind of thing, and I don't like to waste. And especially I'll bring it back to the center. And they're so wasteful. They leave the lights on and waste water and things. And And there are few people who stay there because we have a sink and kitchen and everything. 2 guys who stay there. And I say, if you stay here and my electricity goes over a certain amount for the month, you're paying for it because you got free rent. There's no free lunch anywhere, is there? So this is me, and now even how I'm able to go on stage and talk to people, and I'm sitting here, this must be God, because this is, sometimes I wish when I go like into public, I wish the floor would open up and swallow me. And but it's been the thick skin. You just have to develop it, because if you don't, you will not make it. This is a tough world. As my daughter is older, she's now 40. She's a writer, a best-selling. She writes romance. Young people, please buy her books. Her name is Nana Malone, if I can plug her. And she writes all the time. And so it's been, and I tell her, in America, I said, listen, you are going to be the best you can be. So when you go and it's all white in your class, just kick butt. Make them know you're better. Your grades come and you're top, with the top. And this is how I've been brought up, that do the best you can. If you've done the best, but don't just sit there and always thinking about this person, blame somebody else, which we are fond of doing, or it's somebody else's fault. I was not brought up that way. No. Own your own mistakes. And this is what I try to imbibe in the people I come across and work with, even at my house. I said, don't be afraid to tell me. Because I have people, my house girl is there 18 years. I said, you make a mistake, we all make mistakes. But as for discipline, you'll be disciplined. It's good for us to be disciplined. So this is how I've gone about my life. And
so far, so good.
So far, so good.
I'd just like to say a big thank you to you. It's been fantastic talking to you.
Thank you.
Always is. But this is the
Yes.
first time we're doing this on the
Yeah.
Executive Lounge, so
Yeah.
we're really grateful.
We can go on forever.
I know
You
I
and
know
I.
that.
Yeah.
So we have a tradition on this show. I'm going to share 5 lessons I'm taking away from this conversation. And for me, number 1 is that life will throw you a curveball. You have the choice whether you're going to bat a home run or you're going to be bowled out. In other words, the lemons will come. You can either sit and cry or make lemonade. And in Auntie Serwaa's case, life threw her a curveball. She's used that to nurture her own child, help other families, and help other people to start their own centers. I know of at least one center that was started by someone who was trained at your center. And also, number 2 is that you must have discipline. If you're going to look for consistently good results, that will only be achieved if you have discipline, that you do the right things repeatedly, and then you will have the results you're looking for. Number 3 is that never be in a rush to pass judgment. The stigma that people who I'm sure today would wish that they were nicer because they're now a lot more enlightened. Similarly, the recruitment process at the center is one where people are immersed, and over a period they are assessed. And so you don't walk in with a fancy degree and get a job overnight. You're walking and you're assessed. So there's no quick judgment on whether you can or can't do the work. It pays to be patient. Number 4 for me, I think, is that you must be resilient. Now, resilience is not because you're impervious to pain. It's only because after you've endured the pain, you keep pushing and keep going forward. And the final thing is that determination, that no matter what comes your way, you're going to be determined. You're going to make a decision, and you will act on that decision that I will stand firm, I will stand when the storm goes, I will be here, I will thrive, and I will succeed. And that is how the Autism Awareness and Care and Training Center in Accra started and is going for 20 years. Auntie Serwaa Quaynor, thank you once again, and God bless you.
God bless you too.
Wonderful.
It's been amazing.
It certainly has
Yes.
been. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in, and to the team, thank you for making this possible. Go forward, make rain. Shalom.